The Soulful Diva, Natalie Cole. She's up next. That's right. David Nathan's book, The Soulful Divas, in his take on R&B diva Natalie Cole. Let's talk. What's up, everybody out there? How you doing? Welcome back over here to my channel, Pepe's Point of View, and I am your R&B historian, Pepe. So let's just get right into it. We're talking about R&B diva Natalie Cole. Oh my gosh, I am so excited. I have not covered Natalie Cole over here, and I am definitely looking forward to doing my commentary on Natalie Cole. She is by far one of my favorite R&B divas. She is. Um, if you watch my channel and you've been around for quite some time, then you know hands down Angela Wimbush is my favorite. But I also think that if I had to choose another R&B diva, it would definitely be Natalie Cole for me. So I don't want to go into my spiel on Natalie Cole. I'm gonna save that for another day. We're going to see what David Nathan has to say. Unlike the other videos with the Soulful Divas, what I decided to do with this one is actually read the first page just to kind of get a take on what David had to say about Natalie. And actually, I think we're going to start with the second page, the chapter 11 on Natalie Cole. So we're going to start with the second page. I think this is kind of like where it all takes off. So let's see what David has to say. Oh, disclaimer: I am not affiliated with David Nathan or Natalie Cole. Um, I am just, well, trying to find more information about some of my favorite R&B divas. And right now, what we're doing is we're covering David Nathan's book. Yes, I suggest that if you do not have a copy of this book, please go out and purchase it. But this is definitely not a paid promotion at all. Okay, let's see what David have to say. We're going to read the second page. I remember when I first heard Natalie's about to be released Capitol debut. I'd gotten to know Matt Parsons, the head of R&B promotion in Capitol's New York office, and his secretary, Janet Williams, who later went to work for Natalie for a brief spell. Within a few months of arriving in New York from London to work as a correspondent for Britain's Blues and Soul. When Matt and Janet asked me to come up to Capitol's 6th Avenue offices, I had no idea what to expect. After all, this was Nat King Cole's daughter. A longtime lover of a longtime lover of the kind of emotion-filled, soulful music associated with divas like Aretha Franklin and Patti LaBelle, I needed to hear only a few bars of Inseparable to get hooked and to know that Natalie had the kind of R&B chops on the album of the same name that I was raving about it in Blues and Soul. She's funky, bluesy, soulful, soft, tough, and very talented. I wrote, don't say we didn't warn you. Just get ready for a lady that's going to give every other female a run for their money. Songs like I Can't Say No and You, later recorded by Aretha, won me over. Natalie's vocal intensity made her an immediate favorite. Indeed, Inseparable went on to become a gold album, propelled by the hits This Will Be, which became one of Natalie's two top five singles during her 6 year stay at Capitol in the title track. Both were R&B chop toppers. The LP also earned Natalie her first two Grammy Awards for Best New Artist and Best R&B Vocal Performance Female. During this first conversation, Natalie confessed that she was just a tad nervous since mine was actually the very first full out interview she'd done in preparation for the release of Inseparable. The first single, This Will Be, was beginning to make some noise, and she started to adjust to what would turn out to be a whole new life. I am ready for it all, she asked. Oh, excuse me. Am I ready for it all? She asked. Well, if not, I better get ready. I got to see Natalie perform in person for the first time in September of that year with a big afro. The slender singer wore out the audience at a show hosted by Capitol at Buddy's Place in Midtown Manhattan. Looking more than cute, with an unbelievable amount of energy and creative power, Natalie ran the gamut with such items as The Beatles, Come Together, and I've Got the Music in Me, as well as a surprisingly good Up on the Roof and a tribute to her father in the form of Love. Miss Cole's vocal abilities and range are stunning. Yes, there are touches of Aretha in there, no one would deny, but Natalie does have her own theme. Her opening night had a certain magic to it, which will remain memorable to all those present. Watching the birth of a star, I wrote, is always an exciting event. Only months later, Natalie was out in Los Angeles performing at the Coconut Grove. Natalie hollered, dance, got down, really down to the floor, mic in hand, to let out some really soulful singing. I wrote in a blues and soul review in March 1976. Although her background is not in church, Natalie took everyone there with her gospel sounding style. And she not only sounded fine, but she looked slim and trim and together too. Aretha Franklin's name had consistently popped up in reviews of Natalie's first album in her first few shows, and she addressed the comments in an interview with John Abbey for Blues and Soul as Inseparable was rapidly becoming one of the year's bestsellers. Hmm, that's the first time anyone has said that. There are times when I listen back to my own work and I have to agree with what you say. I have been more impressed by Shaka Khan, but I would never dream of trying to sound like Shaka or Aretha or anyone. By the spring of 1976, regardless of comparison with the reigning Queen of Soul, Natalie was proudly watching her second album, simply titled Natalie Go Gold, and the hits kept coming. Producers Jackson and Yancey had come up with a musical formula that worked, and Sophisticated Lady, Natalie's third number one R&B hit, which earned her a third Grammy Award, was followed by Mr. Melody. While celebrating her second taste of chart success, Natalie also had her attention on matters of the heart, sharing that she was going to marry Kevin Nance, her musical director, in August 1976. We met in New York last June, she revealed in a 1976 Blues and Soul article. I went to a private party, and Kevin's was the resident band. At the time, I was looking for a band myself, and a girlfriend of mine had recommended that I see the band. Needless to say, I looked them on. As it turned out, the marriage never happened, and Natalie confessed in 1978 that she had in fact wed Reverend Marvin Yancey, her producer, in June 1976, only making the information public 6 months later. At this point in time, Natalie's life seemed to be on the upswing. In addition to her new marriage, her records were selling, and she'd even conquered Broadway. with the non-concert stint at the Winter Garden Theater, a feat only previously achieved by the likes of Diana Ross and Soulman Al Green. The reviews were glowing. Miss Cole, who looked stunning in rust-colored cape and silver and black gown, nothing too gaudy or flashy, something just right. I observed in my report to Blues and Soul in early 1977. Gone was the big afro, and gone was the big afro that she'd worn during her first few years as a recording artist. Natalie had a smart hairstyle, but she lost none of her soul in the process. And Miss Cole shines bright and clear, proving that the soul is no longer limited to Chitlin circuits or concert halls. I added, a star-studded post-concert party brought out some of New York's finest in a buffet of R&B stars like Stephanie Mills and the late Ronnie Dyson. Woo! Interesting. Wow. I am just so loving the way David Nathan writes about these R&B divas. I mean, it's fascinating, it's breathtaking. Uh, if I could, it's kind of like the way David Nathan describes these R&B divas is more like, vintage wine. Yes, that's it. It's kind of like vintage wine, the way I read this. It's just so classy, so sophisticated. At the same time, when it looks like he hits on some of these R&B divas' flaws or rough edges, you should say, it's still done with class. And like I said, I'm definitely loving this about David for sure. Well, I got about 3 minutes, so let's see what we could talk about here. I think the most important thing that I get out of this right now is the fact that once again, you know, we have a new R&B diva on the scene, and she's being compared to the likes of R&B divas already out. And the difference between uh, other R&B divas, I guess, out at the time is that Natalie Cole definitely, she has that pedigree. She has that background with her father, Nat King Cole, you know, whether if it's in the forefront or the background when it comes to her. She definitely, is feeling the pressure probably with that. And then to have to come out and, sell records, have a particular image and a particular style, and then to be compared to uh, to Aretha Franklin, it's interesting. Now, the more I think about this as I'm talking, and now I'm getting some things in my head about this. I don't know. I think it's worth bringing up when it comes to Aretha Franklin and other R&B divas, and tell me whether or not if you agree with this or not. I almost like to believe if there are R&B divas that Aretha Franklin tried to mimic, it would be two R&B divas, and I know I probably get a lot of flack for that. And those two R&B divas, I felt like they gave Aretha Franklin some run for her money, and she probably would never, ever, you know, agree with this. And that would be Natalie Cole and Patti LaBelle. You can say whatever you want to say. Why do I say that? Well, just to mention some of the music that Natalie Cole had out definitely reminded you of Aretha Franklin. So much so as it has been said that Natalie Cole's song "You" was recorded by Aretha Franklin, but then later on in towards the end of Natalie Cole's career, because she's no longer with us, she recorded a song called Daydreaming, which is a part of Aretha Franklin's catalog. Great song, by the way. I loved it. When I first heard Natalie Cole's version of Daydreaming, I didn't know it was an Aretha Franklin song. I just knew, I was like, I love this song and I loved it instantly. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, she's back. I mean, Natalie Cole is really back, with Daydream, because I thought it was just this new song. It was a good sounding song. And when I actually went out and brought or purchased the album Leaving, I was kind of a little taken aback that I didn't get the kind of album I thought I was going to get based off the song Daydreaming. But what you have here is you have Natalie Cole with Pink Cadillac, and then you turn around, you have Aretha Franklin with songs like Freeway of Love. So it seems as if there was maybe this quiet, untold kind of rivalry between these two, and you can kind of tell it in the music, in the way in which Aretha and Nat Nicole went about recording their songs. Also, too, the same thing with Patti LaBelle. Patti LaBelle, when she recorded with Michael McDonald on My Own, and then all of a sudden now you have Aretha Franklin coming out with uh, George Michael, I knew you was waiting for me. So I think, and I probably, will research this a little bit more, but I do believe that Natalie Cole definitely applied some pressure to Aretha Franklin' career, whether or not people want to admit it or not. So anyway, that's Davis Nathan's take on Natalie Cole. That was be the second page of chapter 11 with Natalie Cole. I am so loving this book. I'm going to eventually get around to reading the entire book, but right now, because I wanted to get the book out the way and talk to you guys about it, I decided I'll read one page of each chapter. Well, on that note, if you have made it this far, in this commentary, then I think that it's only appropriate for me to ask you guys to hit the like button and subscribe button, share it, leave a comment, tell me what you think. And over here, my motto is simple. Remember to put your behind where your heart desires to be. And whenever I leave my mother's presence, she always says to me, she says, baby, remember, I love you, but God loves you best. I look forward to seeing you guys next video. And until then, you know what to do. Take care of yourselves.